Good morning, everybody. This is Travis Witherspoon from Carter Capital, helping you fight for your financial freedom throughout the forex market. This is a Friday edition of Trade with Travis. Um, I actually said I wasn't going to do anything. I typically don't do anything on Friday mornings just because of time and everything else like that. But we actually are not in the school today, so I'm going to make it very quick when it comes down to certain things that I end up talking about for its pairs. I just looked at my automation system. My automation system is actually up on the trade, and it looks like we're in deep consolidation. So I want to make sure we end up talking about that. My hair is everywhere, uh, but I want to make sure we end up talking about that before we get out of here. Today's session is going to be very quick because, quite frankly, I didn't expect to do this, but I want to make sure that um, the people that I end up speaking to in the morning also end up getting the game plan that I end up talking about a little bit earlier. So I'm going to go through this one very quickly, and then after that, we're going to get out of here. I'm not a CTA, so I'm not going to tell you whether to buy or to sell. What I'm going to do is teach you education, and from the education, you can be able to make your own informed decision. I understand that trading involves risk. It involves risk of being able to make money. It also involves risk of being able to lose money. So please keep that in mind. And understand that past performance is not indicative of future results, which means that if you end up making money yesterday, it's not promised that you end up making money today. So with that being said, take a look at the economic calendar, see what's actually going on uh, for the people that um, I ended up talking to a little bit earlier um, yesterday, and for the people I have talked to over the course of the last week. Um, Last night's trading, how well did you do? Type in red. Type in red if it was a red day. Type in green if it was a green day. Currently, right now, this morning, it is a green day. I'm um, looking at about 1800 right now when it comes down to one of the moves that we end up catching on US 30. My automation system caught it. I would probably not take that trade, but I caught it, so it's there. So we end up going with that. But today, overall, what's happening is this: we have a GDP that ended up coming out for the pounds that actually ended up being positive. Seeing the pound yen actually ended up exploding yesterday. So we may end up taking a look at one of the pound pairs just to see what's happening with that pound JPY, pound US. We'll take a look at those overall, see if there's any type of movement that we can be able to get into. A little bit later on, there's going to be some light conferences and everything else like that. We just have to pay attention to. But overall, nothing really when it comes down to movements. Now, I'm going to do this very quickly uh, and talk about what ended up happening and talk about what is the adjustment for this week going into all of going into this week and seeing how everything kind of react. Um, so I will get through the big three, but I am going to go, quite frankly, through the indexes real quick. So, first off, last night or yesterday, what ended up happening was that we end up talking about trades to the downside where the market, if it fell down to 28,900, we would end up getting into that sale, looking at being able to take that trade all the way down to 28,520. Right, that's the original trade that we end up talking about. Now, what ended up happening based off of this movement to the downside was that this market broke out of this large consolidation box and kind of fell inside of this consolidation box as well. And now, when you end up looking at that going into the end of the month to the beginning of the month of one pair, now we're looking at that, and I'm saying that currently we are in a larger consolidation box. This consolidation box consists of about 800 points when it comes down to a range. This is the only time where I typically would say I would trade inside of the consolidation. And when I'm saying inside of the consolidation, I'm talking about this natural support and natural resistance. So what we ended up doing last night was that we ended up saying, okay, well, if the market ended up falling below 12,900, 28,900, I would look at being able to take a buy at the same time, but my buy would end up going from the support and trying to take it all the way up to the resistance. If that did happen, then we would look at being able to get out if the market ended up rejecting off the resistance, or we would take it all the way up to where we think that the take profit will be if it does break out, in which that was the trade that we ended up having 2 days ago, where we ended up saying at 29,740, we will look at being able to get out at 30,000. So this trade will end up being from basically 29,900 all the way to 30,000. That is a long-term trade. I want everybody to understand that. That is a big-time long-term trade that you can be able to get into if that does happen. Um, but um, if it does happen, then that is great overall. We've seen that the market has done touch um, support to resistance on this one at least once. We've seen that it's at resistance and it's kind of moving back up to the resistance. I end up saying based off the United States dollar index that I did expect that the market was going to end up pushing up to the upside. I still kind of have that mentality that that could necessarily happen. So we may not necessarily end up getting a support to resistance trade. Um, and if that doesn't happen, then I'm not necessarily worried about it. But the trade that I do want to be able to get would be the breakout to the upside and the breakout to the downside. We already have those trades if that does happen. So if this market falls down and ends up hitting resistance, then we have a buy trade that ends up happening. If it does happen and it goes up to resistance and then quickly starts to reject, we have a sell trade at the same position at 29,740, taking it all the way down to 29,520. Both of them are large, consistent trades. If that does happen, Fridays have not been slow over the course of the last few weeks, but this is the last day of the month, so it wouldn't surprise me if the market would go slow when it comes down to overall movements. But I do not expect to take a trade today on US 30. So I just wanted to put that out there. But that is the game plan when it comes down to that. XVX 500 is pretty much the same. We take a look at it. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days of large consolidation. This consolidation box ranges of 100 points when it comes down to that movement. If the market breaks up to the upside, then we're looking at being able to get into two orders to the upside at 37.22 all the way up to 37.60, and then after that at 37.20 all the way up to 38. I think it was 38.35, I believe, which will end up basically being the support of this previous consolidation movement from September 5th to September 21st. So you end up getting that movement, then that's the move that I would like to be able to take advantage of if that actually happens for its overall movement. Just want to make sure that everybody kind of understands that uh, before the weekend is actually out, and being able to make a movement from there. So let's see. Okay, cool. Now, with that being said, if the market does break to the downside, we still have a sale trade that's at 36.09, taking it all the way down to 3,500 if the market does make that movement to the downside. Now, the reason why I'm saying that I'm looking more to the upside to this movement, one is because it's the beginning of the month. Two, because typically in October you're going to end up seeing a large consolidation. It's done happen over the course of the last couple of years. You'll see a large consolidation. Once that consolidation is broken, then that kind of determines the new trend for the rest of the year. So we're talking about from October all the way to January. So this is the reason why, to be honest, I'm actually here live trying to talk to everybody, because the October to January push is the biggest push that you typically get throughout the year. I want to make sure everybody's prepared when it comes down to that overall movement. Plus, it's the last day of the month, so I want to make sure that obviously everybody has a game plan when it comes down to that. Let's take a look at what's happening with NAS. NAS has the same plan as US 30. We had to we end up opening up the actual range. The range at this particular point now is right around 400 points at this particular point. Now that kind of makes sense if we look at US 30 having a range of 800 and having NAS being a range of 400, because typically US 30 moves faster than NAS. It wouldn't surprise me, well, it doesn't surprise me that it's that big when it comes down to the range. So game plan is still the same. If the market breaks to the upside and to the downside, we still have those trades that we end up placing in a little bit earlier, where the actual entry will be at 11,500 to 11,700 for us to buy. With the sale, the entry will be from 11,100 all the way down to 10,990 if that happens from there. If the market does pop, or if the market does fall down to support at 11,100, then we have a trade that will take it all the way up to the breakout area at 11,700. And if the market does fall to the top side, we have another order to where it will end up being from the resistance. No, let me do that again. We have an order that ended up being from this resistance all the way down to that natural support. So one of these times the market's going to end up breaking out. We are giving up a little bit to be able to make a little bit. So when the market is at this point, and we know that it is going into a, we know that if it does hit resistance or support, that trade we might have to exit early if we know that it's not going to end up being favorable for us. But if it falls inside the consolidation and it falls back into the middle, there's a very good chance that it could go from resistance to support. Now, the question would be, will it break out of that area? Don't know that answer, but if it does, that could lead to a major movement in profit and probably end up being the trade of the month for you when it comes down to what's happening in October and what's happening inside of this consolidation area. Hopefully, everybody ends up understanding that when it comes down to this movement. I do expect that if this market does pop up, it's going to get possibly up to 12,000 going into October if that does happen. Now, if it falls, then we talked about the extension where the market could do or where the market could go if it does fall as well. Okay, so that is the trades on US 30, Nas 100, XPX. Let's take a look at DAX. DAX, once again, same way. Market breaks to the downside. We still had orders at 11,870. Take profit. We end up being at 11,400. Market breaks up to the upside. We have 12,350 up to 12,520. But if the market does pop up to the upside, this one seems like this will probably get blocked a little bit faster. So same deal. Market ends up hitting support. Look at being able to have a buy 11,870. As long as that sale is going down as well, if the market does reject and pop up, then we're looking at being able to take it back up to that resistance high that ended up happening in early September on the 20th, all the way up to the 27th. We'll see how that movement actually would end up being made from that overall movement. But today, once again, I do not expect to take a trade unless there's something crazy that might end up happening. And I don't think that the market will end up breaking this natural support based off of this movement going into today. I think it will happen in the beginning of October. So going into the Sunday to Monday trades, I think something will happen when it comes down to that movement. The question is, what is that direction? Just don't know yet. That's the reason why I'm not interested in being able to pull the trigger until the market actually ends up breaking into one of those directions and actually being able to show. Early, we're seeing that the market is kind of falling down. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to end up staying down and actually breaking. We just got to manage that as good as possible and be able to let it and be able to kind of go from there. Now, remember, the longer that the market's in the consolidation, the bigger the move that's going to end up happening when it breaks out. So we're 5 days in at this particular point. The average that I've seen when it came down to consolidation over the course of the summer months was 10 days. That 10-day movement that we end up getting was right at the beginning of June, I believe. And that was about, I think that was about 1,400 points of overall movement to the downside right here. We ended up having a very long consolidation portion of the movement, and it ended up moving down about 1,400 points. Well, no, it was 800 points on this movement. It was a little bit higher on US 30 and everything else like that. So we got to keep that in mind as this market this kind of builds itself out. We'll see how everything kind of plays out when it comes down to that movement overall. But let's take a look at the United States dollar index. If there's anybody that has any pairs that they'd like to be able to take a look at, I will go through those real quick. But like I said, I expect today is going to end up being a short day for me. To be honest, I don't expect to be able to take any trades. United States dollar index. Just going to go through this one very quickly. Weekly D extension ended up getting hit at 11,520. I ended up saying that I wasn't interested in being able to make a trade until the market actually ended up giving me some type of rejection. Daily ended up basically starting to make a fractal high. There goes your fractal high right there. Now from this position, now we can look at being able to make moves to the downside with the thought process that the market would continue to keep on rejecting. based off of that movement. If we go to the 2 hour, that was the first initial move. Um, Gave us a nice double top, and then after that started to fall from there. This is your new, that is your new ABCD to the downside for its rejection. Went all the way up to the 5.0. Currently, the D extension off of that one is at 13,334, meaning that I'm seeing the market start to pop up a little bit. I think that, once again, going into what I ended up saying earlier, the market will consolidate a little bit at some point in time. I don't think there'll be a crazy move in any direction. If this happens, it just means that the market will kind of pop up just a little bit more. And when it breaks the counter trend line break, then after that, it'll continue to fall. I don't think the United States dollar is ready to keep on pushing up bullish at any point. At any point in time, I think this initial move was the move to be able to get people to know that this move was ready to be able to start falling. The next move is where everybody will start looking at being able to get in. So just keep that in mind. United States dollar index. I'm not taking any trades at this particular point. I do expect that the market will fall. U.S. oil. I want to look at buying. U.S. oil. I want to look at buying. We end up talking about if this market end up end up breaking out of this blue area, which was the top of the channel, then it could go up to $95 a barrel. I still am expecting that, but now what I'm saying is this, kind of like what we end up seeing when the market end up breaking out of that, breaking from that $77 support. I'm starting to see that this market is doing the same for building out a consolidation. So I'm gonna say I have a bullish bias, but consolidation, you really can't have a bias. You just gotta let everything kind of play out. But if the market ends up breaking out of 82, so let's say 82.96 going into $83, $83 a barrel, I'll look at buying when it comes down to that position. Stop loss will end up being at the low at 80.65. Take profit will end up being at 95 if the market ends up making that movement to the upside. That is the initial thought process for a buy move that I'll be interested in being able to see. If this market continues to be able to bounce around, hold support, and then after that, look at being able to break out, that would be the move that I will look at being able to do to the upside on oil. Now, typically, this is the time that I started getting into oil because it's starting to get a little bit colder. Typically, you end up seeing that you can make a little bit more money when the market gets into this position overall. Now, that is the pairs that I'm going to end up talking about. I'm going to say this. One, be careful of your automation systems during this time. If your automation systems struggle inside of consolidation, you're going to get a lot of false breaks when it comes down to this movement. I'm going to say that now. If your automation system struggles in consolidation, you're going to end up seeing a lot of false breaks inside of this area. Primary reason is because that the range is so big that it may look like it will have a big pop up to the upside, but really and truthfully, it's not a really big pop up. It's just nothing more being able to fit inside of this consolidation until there's a true break. So I'm looking at the moving average. I'm looking at the VWAP. I'm pretty sure it's going to end up giving a lot of false breaks. So once you end up getting that first initial move, you get popped in. When it comes down to that, you need to run your trail stop with it and get what you can. Don't necessarily think that it's going to end up being trending because the market has been in a trending mode since legitimately the 13th of the month to the downside, and there has not been no U-turn as of yet. So with your automation systems, like I said, if it's a swing trade or anything else like that, please make sure that you understand that the trades that you get into while the market is inside of these consolidation boxes at this particular point in time will probably end up being false break moves. So get what you can, get out. Get what you can, get out. Just do that. And manage it until the market actually ends up truly breaking out of this overall area and it starts being trending again. Okay. Tomorrow will be the opening and the launching of the Discord channel. If you're interested in being able to learn a little bit more, I'm going to end up having a dedicated video towards that. Super excited to being able to launch this. It will be a subscription-based model. There will be a free area where People can be able to can be able to understand a lot of the stuff when it comes down to trading in general, technical stuff, economic news, a lot of information when it comes down to books and a whole bunch of other stuff. This will be filled out all the way, terminology, and different trade patterns when it comes down to videos and everything else like that. There will be an area where a lot of people can be able to add on to stuff to where people can be able to use. And then after that, we end up having a members only collection where you end up having a private collection of ebooks and everything else like that. Uh, for the members, they'll get into, and they will start off by being able to have a boot camp video to be able to start off with. There's a 4-page book, a 4-page ebook video, and uh, about, I want to say, about 3 hours of information when it comes down to stuff that you would like to be able to learn when it comes down to trade rankings and everything else like that. Learn about return on investment, learn about brokers, charting in direction, trading terms and psychology, and how Forex can end up being a winnable game. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that. But inside of the inner circle and elite packages, that's where you end up seeing all the magic. That's where you end up getting most of everything inside of there. That will end up being filled out. But essentially, what that is you will end up getting um, some of these educational packages that the free members would not necessarily end up getting. I'll go through more of that once everything is launched and kind of give everybody a great idea about what that actually looks like. But that's pretty much it when it comes down to that. What's going on, Fowdy? To be honest, I wasn't even planning on making a video, but we ended up talking about last night. We ended up talking about this large consolidation box, or the large consolidation boxes that were created. So um, that adjusts the game plan, and I wanted to make sure that everybody had an idea about what to be able to do. But that is pretty much it, guys. I hope everybody understands. I hope everybody's doing well. I'm gonna go quick review on this one. If you just got in, uh, we still have the trades that we talked about yesterday. US 30, 28,900 all the way down to 28,520 for the short. The buy trade is 29,740 all the way up to 30,000 if the market breaks up to the upside. The new trades that we end up placing in was the support to resistance and resistance to support trades, because this market has an 800 point range to the downside. So if the market ends up breaking and hitting the support at 29,900, then I'm looking at being able to take that trade all the way up to 30,000. That's a 1-to-8 risk reward ratio. You don't necessarily get that many trades like that throughout the year. So if it does hit the support and bounces up and takes the resistance, because the market is bullish, then quite frankly, probably be the biggest trade of the month. The same deal if the market ends up breaking bullish and starting to reject. We have a trade at 29,740, taking it all the way down to the position where we think it'll possibly fall at 29,520 to the downside. When it comes down to that movement, that's a 1-to-11 risk reward ratio. Remember, once again, all you need is one trade like that to be able to make up the whole month when it comes down to moving. XVX 500, we're just trading the outside of the range. It's a 100-point range now. Same trades from yesterday. 3608 will end up being the entries. Take profit would be 3,500 with a stop loss of 3638. For the buy trade, we end up having 3622 all the way up to 3760. And take profit too will be at 3835 if the market ends up breaking up to the upside. The longer the consolidation, the bigger the take profit. I'm gonna start suggesting, because that large tension that's going to end up being built up, when it breaks out, it's going to end up popping up a lot. So I want to be able to take advantage of that move if we keep on going into more days of consolidation. NAS 100 has a 400-point range. The support is at 11,100. If it breaks down and goes down, we're going to end up saying 10,990 is to take profit. The market ends up breaking up to the upside. We still had that trade at 11,495 all the way up to 11,700. And essentially, once again, we're looking at buying from 11,100 all the way up to 11,700, and looking at selling from 11,500 all the way down to 10,990. So we have a couple trades inside that will happen at both times, and we'll just kind of go from there. So it gives us a better example of what's going to end up happening. It gives us a better chance that if we do get in a trade and it is that consolidation, then we can be able to make that movement. But like what I ended up saying before, if you have an automation system at this point in time, be aware that the automation system may start to get false break moves on buys and sales just because it's inside of a large range consolidation. Most automation systems don't take in account for consolidation in the first place. And with this market being in a large range, if it does reject again, the first pop of the move will end up being the most profitable move. The rest of it will probably not be as profitable. So get what you can off the first pop, and then after that, get out the way for the overall movement from there. You like what I end up? If you like what I end up doing, make sure that you end up clicking on that boost button. Make sure that you end up supporting everything that we're doing with the red brand and everything else like that. All of the other social medias, whether it's Twitter and everything else like that. I do appreciate everybody being able to do that. We're so close to 700. I think the last time I checked was at 693. Quite frankly, we've done over 100 people in less than a month. And once again, that's a credit to y'all. I truly do appreciate that. Hopefully, that means that I'm giving good information. Hopefully, everybody's making profit. This month was very good for us when it came down to certain percentages. The best overall. Let's see, which one performed better this month? DAX performed better this month than anything else. Um, I don't perceive us taking a trade on DAX this today, so we can go ahead and talk about it. Longs were 47%, shorts were 49% overall. Profit factor still at 1.46. We got to get that up to 1.5, but we end up doing 14% this month. It's not necessarily what we end up doing in August and what we end up doing in June, but 14% is still very good when it comes down to this overall throughout the month. So. Super proud of everybody. Hopefully, we can be able to keep on having this rally going into October and everything else like that, and keep on growing. Like always, make sure that you end up planning your trade your plan. Everyone, you have a good weekend, and we'll see y'all on Monday. Take it easy.